It's hot like my nose. Oh, this is so rad. I haven't been outside in like 5 days.
Oh, the Florida complaints. I'm sitting here in Orchard Park, freezing my twig and berries off.
So fucking cold here too. My wife sent. Oh, maybe it'll be more fun to share it with you guys in chat. But she sent me a. Oh, it's not very. Yeah, it's not very good. Basically, it's in Florida, and it says 0 inches of snow in this part, and the blue says 0 inches but colored blue. Because she's up in DC right now. One of our good friends, dad had passed away, so she went up to his services today, and she's like, "I'm leaving early because there's snow in the forecast." And I saw Philly was going to get whacked. So you're in Buffalo, you said, Mike?
I'm in Buffalo, but we will have snow in Philly tomorrow for the Eagles win. What a better segue. We'll go to you, EMac, and
All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday afternoon. I was trying to mess up Matt Belman with the schedule today. I had it literally backwards from what I thought boss man Greg was telling us we needed to do. I was not really paying attention. I kind of glanced at it and wrote a response because I was doing day job stuff. And Matt was like, "What the hell is that talking about?" Well, you know what? Maybe we don't trust me on scheduling. So here we go. Here we go. But we're going to have some fun today. We've got a 5-game slate. That'll be good. 2 games locking at 7 o'clock here. We have a late game, which should be interesting. That's a 10 o'clock game. And then, so we do our 2 games at 7, 1 at 8:30, 1 at 9, and 1 at 10. So this is kind of a spread out slate. 6 o'clock game just, I think it was a 6 o'clock game just started, or actually it was a 4 o'clock game. It must be wrapping up there for Phoenix and Detroit. So for those of you wondering why some of your all-day contest lock, if that's even a thing anymore, that would be why. But we've got some injuries to talk about. We have news coming in. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Always happy to be here talking some hoops with you. We got NFL on in the background, college hoops going on. So great day of sports. MMA for those that like MMA. I'm not an MMA guy myself, but I know it's pretty popular. So yeah, I mean, what can be better than some NBA DFS while playoff football's going on?
It's going to be a good time. And then you got college basketball. That was whetting everybody's appetite this morning. Gajeski and Ben Rossa put out some picks. I was looking at them, trying to get in on at least 1 or 2 of the games that hadn't started yet. I think between them, they hit 8 of their 10 recommendations on the afternoon games. I'm like, what am I doing writing articles? I should be going in there and getting those picks. That's part of the OddsShopper Discord channel, which you get if you belong to Portfolio EV. Just something that we talk about from time to time. But we'll talk about some basketball here tonight. I see we just got a bit of a news dump here. So we know that Al Horford is going to be out. Kristaps Porzingis is going to be out. Jason Tatum is going to be in. No surprise here that some of these players are resting in this matchup against Atlanta. Boston is favored by 9 at home. Trae Young had been questionable. I believe he was dealing with a sore heel. He is in, as is Jalen Johnson. He missed a game or 2 with the sore shoulder. And then DeAndre Hunter has just throughout his career had a variety of nagging injuries. He's back after dealing with the sore foot, if I remember correctly. So summarizing that one, it's Horford and Porzingis are the 2 key players that are not available in that game. Pretty much everybody else is. In our second game, also starting at 7 o'clock, it's Philadelphia at the Pacers. We have Andre Drummond in. We have Benedict Mathurin back after a 1-game suspension. We also have, for Philadelphia, and this might matter, Ricky Council is available. Who's not available? Well, of course, that's Joel Embiid. He's out for the rest of this month. You have Kyle Lowry and Caleb Martin and KJ Martin, no relation to the last 2. They're all out tonight. And then questionable is Paul George along with Gershon Yabusele. Yabusele, I didn't think was on the earlier injury report, but it looks like he may be dealing with some knee soreness there. You've got Paul George questionable with an ankle issue, going back against the team that drafted him for any of those of you that care about those sorts of things. Golden State is the kind of the midpoint of our slate. You've got them hosting the Washington Wizards. Golden State favored by 13.5. This one could be a laugher. Draymond Green in, Steph Curry in. Brandon Podziemski out, Kyle Anderson out on the Wizards side. They have everybody available except for Malcolm Brogdon. And then Cleveland, we had an update here with Evan Mobley ending up with some calf soreness. So he's questionable. We're not going to have that information likely at this point. We also have Isaac Okoro dinged up for that game. And then the only one missing on Minnesota side is Dante DiVincenzo. And then wrapping things up a full hour after that fourth game is going to be Houston at Portland. We're waiting to see what's up with Amen Thompson. He has a chance of playing tonight. He is questionable with the sore calf. You have DeAndre Ayton dealing with the sore back, and he doesn't really like to play basketball. So, but hopefully he does, because no Donovan Clingan, they're a rookie, and they're semi taking it easy with Robert Williams Jr., hoping to get somebody to give them some sort of trade asset for them. Jeremy Grant has missed quite a bit of time. He's back as questionable. I haven't heard anything about that update or what his likelihood of playing. And then Denny Avdia, doubtful, likely to miss the third game here. So I think that hits most things. We're really waiting on who's in for Philadelphia between Paul George and Gershon Yabusele. So that covers those two earlier games here. Matt, anything you're keeping your eye on here?
I mean, that Houston Portland game, already looks good. And then, with Ayton potentially out, Amen Thompson, that's two big injury news guys. And I mean, again, if Ayton's out with Clingan already out, I don't know how you just don't lock in Robert Williams.
We tried that the other night, was not overly sexy.
Well, Ayton played. I mean,
I know
that was the nuke of the night for Lindy, but he still played 18 minutes, and Ayton played. If Ayton's out, I mean, I don't know. I think you got to at least have strong interest in Robert Williams. And if you don't like him, then Duop Reith might be in play.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this about Robert Williams, though, with power forward eligibility and knowing his pedigree as a rock solid fantasy producer, I'd have trouble not playing if I were playing one lineup. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, he played 17.7 minutes, 7 boards, 4 points, 2 assists. He has played 5 of the last 14 games, and that was the most minutes he has played, is 17. So I think we see him get up to around 20. But again, no need to push him here, because Portland is probably going to be the landing place of some contracts or trying to acquire some assets as their rebuild continues yet again. I did miss Houston sheet here. So Houston is, I should have called it out. Jabari Smith is out for basically the next month-ish. Could take him up close to the All-Star break. He had a broken hand. So he started missing time a little while ago, and so I figured most people knew that, but I didn't call it out. And then Tari Eason was back. He had been on a lengthy absence. He's another guy who's interesting. Don't really expect him to play more than 20, 24 minutes. He has had lower leg issues dating back to his rookie season. So he is someone that, when healthy, he can really put it together. Just never really stayed healthy. And with so many people there in Houston, they have the luxury of only playing him 18 to 22 minutes, would be my guess. All right, guards, Matt. Let's start off with guards here, because we have time to recommend one Steph Curry here. He may not need to play the fourth quarter. We'll see. The Wizards can be pesky, but they're going to make sure they don't win this game. But Curry has been doggedly trying to hang in there. He still can get some scoring done. He's one of the best shooters in the game. Nothing to take away from him there. But he's 8,800 on DraftKings, 8,900 on FanDuel. What do you think about rocking the baby tonight?
I mean, I'm fine with Curry, but I don't think he's my favorite play on this slate. He's getting quite a bit of love. Nice price tag for him, but there are blowout concerns. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think he stands out in any sort of way over someone like Anthony Edwards. 500 more. Edwards' upside is higher than Curry's right now. So I get Curry and I like him. I do wonder why he's getting so much ownership.
Is there anybody else to spend our money on at the
I just
guard
talked about
spots?
Anthony Edwards, so
But he's
I'm
the
like,
Ant-Man. He sucks now. He's no longer a
what do you mean?
superhero. He's a mere
He just
mortal.
dropped 65 fantasy points last night, I think, in New
But but
York.
but he screwed us for so much of the season. Never again, right?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're doing there. Again, I'm still a huge believer in Ant, and again, this is another get up spot for him for the Wolves at home against the Cavs. The potentially vulnerable Cavs coming off that shellacking they took at the hands of OKC. So, um, yeah, I don't know. Like, I like Curry. I always like Curry. I just don't really understand why he's getting so much ownership personally.
Yeah, part of it is point per dollar. He's dipped just below that $9,000 range. He also gets, and this is all factored into everything. He is gets a great matchup against Washington. That's been a bottom five defense all season for the last five seasons, basically. They're not as totally dreadful as they have been in prior years, but they're not good. They have no rim protection. They don't really guard anybody out on the line. The only thing they really have going for them is they play fast, and sometimes their threes are hitting, so they can make games closer than they ought to be. It's ratcheting up that 3-point variance, except they don't do it very often, at least the good variance part of it. So I think that's what is pushing a lot of the love there towards Curry. If we look at, let me get my filters back on here. If we look at all of the available guards with the cross position eligibility, we start looking at Tyrese Maxey, who I kind of like tonight. I like him even more if Paul George is out, but even if George is there, he's perfectly fine. He is right around $9,000. He continues to be a tremendous player. His numbers are very similar right now as to what they were last year when he earned his first All-Star appearance. Additionally, when Embiid is off the court, Maxey averages almost 1.2 fantasy points per minute, which is dating back to the beginning of last season without Embiid. If we focus on just this season, it goes up to 1.25, which I think is the better number to look at. Over the last 2 years, he still averages close to 1.1 fantasy points per minute with Embiid. So he's no slouch, but he just has that much more command or opportunity, I guess, in usage when he's there. So he's someone that I think for me, it's between him and Steph. As we build out lineups, I'm playing on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo. So the chances of me not getting one of my lineups in, it's probably high, but that's okay because there's still 3 games in the later slate. So I figured, hey, let's have a little fun. Let's live on the edge. Let's live dangerously. What are your thoughts there on Maxey?
I like Maxey a lot. I think he's another one of those nice pivots away from Curry. I mean, he's a little bit more expensive, 700. He doesn't project for a ton more, but he does project for more. And again, I think his upside right now is higher than Curry's. Like, yeah, Curry still has like the 12-3 in a game upside, but like it's, he's older now. They play it much more safely with him in the regular season. So those spiked games don't come as often as they used to with him. And it makes sense as he's gotten older. Maxey is a guy who does have those spike games, and with no Embiid, I think he's always in play. Again, I think it makes sense. You mentioned the points per hour aspect of Curry. Yeah, he's got shooting guard eligibility. Or no, he doesn't have shooting guard eligibility, but on a slate with a lot of value, I like the idea of going to Maxey over a guy like Curry.
Yeah, and that makes sense because I mean, Maxey's got that 50, 55 fantasy point upside with more regularity than Curry does at this point. It just comes down to matchup. And Indiana's defense actually has been better over the last 10 games. They've mostly been a top 10 unit here. But again, that's sort of offset by no Joel Embiid. And potentially we'll find out what's going on with Paul George here, but that would put the ball into Maxey's hands even more. As we cruise down the middle of the salary sheet here, we're going to see some of our Portland guys. We're going to see, Anthony Simons, Dennis Roder's kind of a bargain guy. You've got Tyrese Halliburton here. You got Shaden Sharp. What do you think about that sort of secondary tier option, of which it's rather populated tonight?
It is pretty populated. Again, The more guys that are out for Portland, the more I like the guys that are in. Scoot being in the starting lineup now has muddied the waters a bit for Simons and Sharp. So, Denny Avdi is a guy who's not like he doesn't need the ball in his hands like Scoot does. So it's taking it out of Sharp and Simons' hands. So kind of a muddied mix there with those three guards starting. I'm not like overly interested in any of those Portland guys. I think the Boston guys, Pritchard and Holiday, all of a sudden look a lot better. 5K and 4,800 respectively. And again, you've got guys out for Boston. We're going to see these guys take on bigger roles. Couldn't ask for a better matchup really against Atlanta with Trae Young in. So yeah, Boston all of a sudden just moved to the top of at least my list as far as players that I want to roster here.
So how bad is it for Anthony Simons? How bad is it for Portland? They've won or lost their last 5 or so games. Simons went 0 for 9 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3, 0 points in the last game. It was Scoot Henderson that led the team with 16. Actually, it was Delano Banton off the bench with 23, but Henderson led those lead guards. Henderson just couldn't miss from 3 a game before that. But we're seeing, like you said, these guys are just they can't all be hot at the same time. It's highly unlikely. They're all streaky shooters, and they all each seem to replicate what the other brings to the table. The front court is a disaster here. Now, it's a disaster only because it's so crowded. And when I mean disaster from a DFS standpoint here. We liked it when we knew that, oh God, who was it? Jabari Walker was getting minutes last year. Duop Reed was getting minutes. You had Kamara, who somehow scored 0 NBA points in 26 minutes as a starter in the last game as well. When he's getting minutes, sometimes he floats down and starts looking like a power forward or a nominal 5, even though he's a wing. It's those are the guys we get excited about when their salaries are low. When there's not much else around them and they're all kind of fighting a bunch of me, I don't say me first in a bad way. Well, maybe for Scoot Henderson, but sort of shoot first backcourt options. They're going to have to get their own rebounds, right? Because they're not getting a lot of the offense themselves. It just makes for a very backcourt centric offense here that it just doesn't really work.
I don't care when the guys are cheap, like Klingon and Robert Williams, but when there are guys like Ayton that already have issues that I don't even know how to speak of them, like you're right, these guards like are taking up so much usage and just have the ball so much that it's hurting the bigs. I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. For those wondering, Joe Mixon just scored a touchdown. It looks like the Houston Texans kicker, Kamai Fairbairn, missed the extra point according to the box score here.
Wow. Yeah, he did. That's crazy.
That's kind of I love talking about kickers. Love the kickers. We got Bates playing tonight. I'm looking forward to that, going against the Washington Commanders. Looking to our discount dandies. What is popping up for you here? Is this another night of maybe hoping that 20 minutes get real efficient for Mike Conley? What do you have for us on these cheap backcourt options?
Yeah, Conley's only 3,400 still, so in play for sure. I'm okay with not playing him also. Like, I mean, it's Mike Conley. He started off red hot last night and finished with like 19 fantasy points. He's fine if you need him. Certainly not a must. I'm looking to spend down elsewhere, I think. I talked about Pritchard and Holiday. I think that's probably the cheapest I personally want to go at guard because I like both of the Celtics' cheap big men here with Horford and Porzingis out against Atlanta, a team that plays with at least one center all the time.
Did you know in Conley's last 16 starts, he's barely averaging 24 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
I throw that out there just because people are like, oh, he's gonna get all the minutes because of X. No. Maybe not. It's like the TJ McConnell effect, right? Halliburton out. TJ McConnell plays 2 extra minutes these days. It's not much. But these,
honestly, I think in tournaments I like Rob Dillingham more than Conley. I know Conley has a higher floor for sure, and if I were playing a cash game, I'd play Conley. But if I used a lot of chalk elsewhere in a tournament lineup, I wouldn't be afraid to pull the trigger on Dillingham, who's 3K, not going to get any ownership. And he's a good offensive player. He was very good at Kentucky. Um, Conley is who he is. He's old at this point, and he's a good facilitator, but he's not a guy that's going to rack up DFS points unless it happens by accident.
Did you know his dad could dunk from the free throw line?
Dillingham or Conley?
Conley's dad, sorry.
No, I did not.
He was an Olympic long jumper.
Yeah, why did I feel like I've heard this before, but
Oh shit, probably I've told the story.
More than likely, yes.
It was some celebrity dunk contest, but yeah, his lips were like, is that cheating since he won a gold medal? So all right. Dillingham, God, how much did Lindquist Venmo you to bring him up on this show? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, no, but I'll say this, like I like the random cheap 3K guys that were monsters in college. I got sucked into the Oscar Sheboy trap last night, so I don't think Dillingham's a particularly good play. Just me personally, like I don't want to play Mike Conley honestly like this. Like I can't do it.
So I went to the DraftKings live scoring page because I wanted to look at some stuff. I hardly ever go there, but like on my computer, and it's a running tally that pops up with the pictures and the name of the players as they score throughout the night. It's fun to look at every now and then. But the rookie you just mentioned, I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but he reminded me of Hashim Thabit, who was someone I had not thought about in a long time. Talk about wasted lottery picks there. But in any event, moving on to the small forwards here, slash forwards, because everybody's got multi-position eligibility across the sites we're looking at. But Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum up near the top. Tatum is one of our highest median fantasy point projections tonight. So as Matt had mentioned, if you're not going with Curry, you want to take a path. It's not less traveled. We're going to see these guys on about half of all rosters, but Brown and Tatum in there without Horford, and Porzingis gives them a little bit of a bump against the Hawks. We also have Jalen Johnson playing tonight. He's dealing with that sore shoulder. Julius Randle in the mix going against your Cleveland Cavs. What do you like here amongst the forward position?
Interesting that Jalen Johnson's back in the mix. Kind of makes me like the Hawks in general just even more. Guys are out for Boston. It's going to be easier for Atlanta, I think, to get to the cup. This game all of a sudden is a lot more appealing from like a game stack perspective, with Boston having cheap guys. And obviously we talk about forwards. Maybe the best play on the slate now is Jason Tatum, getting a ton of ownership, deservedly so. So is Jaylen Brown. They both look great. Again, you take off Porzingis, who's a big part of this offense. They're not priced accordingly, especially for a matchup with Atlanta. I think there's a ton more like rebound equity here without Horford or Porzingis, especially for a guy like Tatum. So I like Tatum a ton here. He looks like the best spend up option by quite a bit. That said, he's the only guy over 10K. So it's not like
breaking ground
long shots. Yeah, exactly. But I do like Ant. I like Curry. I like Maxey. Sengun I like, but Tatum's the clear top dog for me above all those guys. And I think that even with the price considered, he's the top dog. So I'm going to do whatever I can to get to Tatum. Should be pretty easy. Again, I don't want to, part of me doesn't want to use too many roster spots because we've got late news, but the other part of me really likes this game a lot. So I don't think I can get to Jalen Johnson here considering he's missed so much time, but it makes the game in some ways more appealing because I think it'll be competitive.
So we did get word that Paul George and Yabusele are out. So that cleans up our first two games here. I see that I got a special message here from Robert in chat. And all I got to say is stop tripping. Stop tripping.
So what does that do with Yabusele being out? Like, because we don't know about Drummond yet. Adem Bona, like he sucks. But
Drummond should be in. We don't know who is starting. Is it Edwards? Who's their other wing player that popped up out of nowhere?
Yeah, but like he's been great, but like they're gonna need some size. I mean, he's not a guy like that's relevant in this conversation. Maybe he is because they go smaller and he's a guy they've seemingly wanted to give more minutes to. But like the Pacers are not huge, but they're not small with Siakam and Miles Turner. So I expect one of these random bigs to get run.
Yeah. How much minutes do you think if Drummond starts?
I mean,
28?
man, I don't know if you can go like Drummond.
I mean, I'm feeling 28 is aggressive.
It is, but like on the other hand, they're down Embiid, they're down Yabusele. We know Drummond can play. Like you're telling me a 5K Drummond that could play close to 30 minutes here, man. He's arguably the best player on the slate, one of them.
So Drummond has not played the last 6 games. He's missed 7 of
Yeah.
the last 8. He's played 2 of the last 12. But in his last 3 starts, 14 minutes in just an ass whooping by Cleveland, 28 minutes when Philly took care of business in Charlotte. He had 33 fantasy points in that one. And then he had a start against Orlando, got close to 30 fantasy points in that tougher matchup. So that is one to keep tabs on, one of many centers that we have available to us. What else? Oh, I wanted to look and see at Jalen Johnson here. So I had not realized how much time he had missed.
Yeah, he's missed a bunch of games.
It was not. Oh wow! So he's missed 5 games and
That's it.
let's see, 6 of the last 7. So basically, he's played once since December 29th.
Drummond
So
projected to start just by Adam Anderson. I'll throw it on screen.
okay. Can the audience hears you when you talk, right, Mike?
Yep, they can hear that. Here you go.
There we go. Well, I didn't know if you were doing the Jordan Klein thing where the producers, everybody stops talking to hear what he says and then they repeat what he says because he refuses to go on.
No,
Mike.
I'm here in real life.
All right. See, Mike's not afraid to even be on camera. Let's see. Laughing at one's jokes is a superpower. It is a superpower. It's how I got my wife. She liked my laugh. Good times. She's a little crazy, but hey, you know what they say about crazy people. They're a little crazy. What else do we have at forward that tickles your fancy here?
I talked about Jaylen Brown. No Paul George here. I mean, that just makes me like Maxi even more and like Kelly Oubre. But I think your Maxi call from earlier. Like, that's the thing with NBA. Like, you can like stuff a lot and then you get some news that just changes everything. And as news trickles in, it changes everything. And this slate is no exception. Like, we've got games till 10 o'clock and the last one has questionable guys. So if you're playing tonight, you better be on it as far as like on the computer and willing to make swaps and stuff if you're multi-entering.
How many years has Kelly Oubre been in the league?
Well, I know he left after his freshman year at Kansas, and I mean, that was a while ago at this point. He's drafted by the Wizards. I'm gonna say he's been in the league 8 years.
10. Can you believe
Yeah,
that?
I was gonna say 10, but I couldn't believe it.
I would have said like 7 or 8, right? He was one of my favorite players when he came in and was with the Wizards.
He was so young, yeah.
Yeah, so young, and the hair and the DGAF attitude. Just all of it. I thought it's like, oh, a terrible player on a terrible team. I'm gonna root for this kid. So
well, the Wizards still have plenty of that, so
yeah, I had to renounce my fandom. So it wasn't good. Come on, someone bring back the Seattle Supersonics, please. Please. Do you know who the Seattle Supersonics last beat in the NBA Finals for their title?
in the finals for their title.
Yes.
No idea.
It would be the Washington Bullets.
Okay.
And then the next year they met again and the opposite team won. I remember that when I was a kid. Shout out to Gus Williams, who played for both teams. He was a player I really liked growing up. He was on that Sonics team that won the championship along with downtown Freddie Brown. It's a good team.
Drummond's in.
Yeah, Mike said he's projected to start. So.
Yeah, well, 55 seconds ago it came in that he's available to play. So
gotcha. Well, I guess we don't need suppositions when we have the real deal here. But where's Where's News God? If he's not breaking the news, it's not official. I have to learn that lesson about once per sports season when I post news in Discord, and I'm politely firmly reminded by him that nobody posts news except him. We try to keep the confusion out. So good times there. Ray J. Dennis available to play for Indy on a two-way contract.
Where did Ray J. Dennis go to college? If you get both of them right, bonus points.
I have no idea. There's only one Ray J. I would like to give a shout out for.
You're a fan of Brandy's brother, Ray J. That Ray J.
Ray J. The actor with Kardashian.
Yeah, from the tapes.
Yeah, that's Brandy's brother, Ray J.
Is it really? Oh, I had no idea.
Really?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily I knew who Brandy was, but it was not really my heyday here. If we want to talk Dionne Warwick or something like that, then we're getting better. Marilyn McCoo, things like that. Ricky Pierce, he was a player in the 80s and 90s, a very good shooter. His wife was a member of Fifth Dimension. Throw that out there. I did not realize that, Brandy. Anyway, enough about that, because that's now chat's going to get salty, and they should. So let me tell you something really good here. You guys look at the top of the screen here, this direction over here. See that? Underdog, presenting sponsor of the show, 50% deposit match up to $250. Not a bad deal. You got to go through the link below us here. But if you also choose to take a slightly different path, a path less traveled, a path that is going to be going away soon, click on the link I just dropped into the YouTube chat. That is the Stokastic link join. You'll also see you can get in on Underdog there. It might be even a different offer there. But any of those 11 providers there, some of them are there for different sites or different game types. But any of those 11 providers, sign up with those through our link, create an account, make your first wager, your first pick'em card, get it settled, send us a screenshot of both of those to support@stokastic.com, and we would get you 1 full month of any sport of your choice, the Sims Max package. You want to wind down the last of the NFL season, you can do that. You want to get a couple NFL months, or probably NBA months, you can do that. We've got MMA Sims. Check all that out. And baseball's right around the corner. So check that out. But quick notes on Underdog. They are a one-stop shop. They've got daily contests. You can do daily drafts there. They, of course, have best ball. They've got playoff best ball going on now. They're launching they just launched their golf product for best ball. They've got the weekly contests, and then they have pick'em contests. And the best thing about their pick'em contests, on a lot of the player stat lines, you can decide higher or lower. You can move the numbers yourself. It changes the payout, and then you can choose what you want. It's a pretty slick deal there, especially for those of you that are in less enlightened states that do not have many sportsbooks options, like Florida, where there's one, or states that don't have any. But check that out. Underdog Fantasy, phenomenal website. It truly has something for everyone. Also has a very slick app, great user interface at Underdog. Okay, NASCAR around the corner. That is true. We've got Daytona coming up here. Always a fun one there. And Talladega, not far behind. Pivot position here, Matt. We've got kind of a hole there in Boston. Who do you think, is anybody worthwhile filling that? And then on the other end, you've got Alperen Sengun, who always looks good, always a triple-double threat. What do you have here at either end of the spectrum?
Yeah, so I talked about, or I've been mentioning the Portland injury news, but man, the Amen Thompson news, is probably the biggest on the slate. The trickle-down effect that him being out would have against a team like Portland. So just to go back to guards real quick, because a guy I forgot to mention that doesn't look as good as he did the other night, but still, in my opinion, looks good, is Delano Banton. He saw a lot of garbage time last time out, but against Houston, they're liable to get blown out again. They might not have 8 in here, which just shortens their rotation. So I think Banton wildly in play at 3,700. And then as far as centers go, I talked about it earlier.
Cornette is starting.
Yes, he is. So I like Cornette a lot, 3,400. I also like Keita a lot at 3K. I mean, I presume they're going to split the center minutes mostly. Maybe you see like 26, 22. something like that. But wouldn't even be surprised if Kada played more if he's playing better. He's the better fantasy producer, in my opinion. If given more run. So I like both of them a lot. I don't know if I want to play them both together just because there's so many good center options tonight, and clearly like their ultimate upside is capped if the with playing both of them together because they're not going to see the floor at the same time. So on one hand, I don't want to, but on the other, like they're combined 6,400 and they project for over 45 fantasy points together. So on that hand, I like them both a lot. So yeah, I'm interested in Cornette and Kada in tournaments in both of them, to be quite honest.
All right. Semi-surprising news. Ricky Council the fourth is starting for Philadelphia.
Also, if you guys want to know why News God brings all the info and all the news, here's breaking news from the News God. Tonight's menu meal for Cleveland. This is what the Timberwolves are going to be feeding their players. This is what News God provides. No one in the industry gets these kind of tweets. Shout out to Ron.
All right. Looks like a couple Asian dishes there. Nice. That's good. Keep it light. Keep it light before you guys get on the court. Good times. Good times. Shout out to Ron, the News God, El Negro Loco. Let's see here. It looks like Travis Kelce may have scored.
He just found the end zone. Yes, he did.
5 for 113. So,
do you watch the New Heights podcast at all?
I do not.
Do you know what it is?
I have no idea.
Mike, did you see the LeBron episode?
I have not, but I've heard.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
How do you watch a podcast?
Listen to a podcast, but I normally put it on YouTube, so I'm watching it as well.
Oh, duh, of course.
Yeah, you have to have internet access.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, I have my hand crank phone here, so yes. No, I download all my podcasts. So some of them I get mad when they're like, "Look at the screen," and then they don't tell you what's on the screen. You're like, "Come on!" Some of us like to multitask here when we're driving or walking, etc., etc. Okay. Anything else that you want to call out from the players here? I'm going to start crafting my FanDuel lineups here. I'm guessing we probably have most of the news in. Let's see. Yep, we just got the popularity updated 2 minutes ago, and 3 minutes ago the projections were. So I'm going to start running the simulations for FanDuel here because I went a little wild today playing all three sites. How many lineups are you making tonight?
I think just one. I'm still deciding, but I think just one.
All right. So who are you trying to craft your lineup around here?
It's got to be Tatum if there's one guy.
Okay. And then number 2, you going with one of the going with Maxey, perhaps?
I like Maxey a lot. I was gonna say Trae Young because I really like him in tournaments.
Synergy. Yeah.
Even with like Jalen Johnson in, because I think it just makes the Hawks more competitive. But man, it is really hard to play or plant a flag on a 10-1 player. He's the only other guy over 10K. I didn't even mention him earlier because he's so far down the list in the boom bust tool that projects for under 45 fantasy points. So I will say Maxey has got to be the other guy. Good matchup. I mean, ultimately, no Embiid, no Paul George. Can't ask for much more for Maxey. So yeah, give me Maxey here.
All right. Some chat thinks I get my podcast by mail. Close. They think I get it by horse and wagon. Close. My first NFL league I was in, you could fax in your lineups or phone them in because That's
how ours was. Mine was too with my dad. I feel like we've talked about this.
Yeah. I did my first NFL trade that wasn't with one of my buddies who was in the league. I wrote a letter and sent it to the person in the next town. Because I had no other way to reach that person. Yeah, no, there was no other way to reach her, and she and her husband were both. Well, she and her husband were both in the league, and they each had a team, but they didn't put their numbers there, and they were a friend of a friend, so no one had their phone number. That's how long ago this was. So, but I had their address because I was the treasurer, so I knew how to get them, and they weren't listed in the book. So I wrote a letter to say, here's the deal I want to do, and then I told them to call me if they wanted to talk to her, and they called me. So yeah, long time ago. All right, running the simulations here. Let's tell you guys what I got from the old dueling fans, as my buddy Dean Shabelson likes to call them. All right, okay. Let's see what we've got here from Benedict Mathurin will be starting. Naismith back to the bench. That is important to note. He really did not play a lot in that. Obviously, Mather didn't play any because he was suspended, but Naismith did not play a ton. He's been coming back from injury. I want to say he played around 9 minutes. So hard to trust him, but Mathurin, no surprise, back in the starting lineup there. Let me see here. It's funny when you play on these different sites and they have the varying user CSVs, it makes for a bit of a challenge because I've done the CSVs on DraftKings for like a decade, but then when I try to bounce around between the other sites, it makes it tricky. Thank God the Sims are all set up to handle this for us. What I should have done is I should have uploaded my FanDuel CSV into the Sims so I could just use the entry manager, and then all you do is download the file and upload it. It does everything in the format for you. Very sweet. Very sweet. Let's see. Running 150 here on FanDuel. Ricky Council coming in on 99% of my lineups. That feels a bit high, but we are projecting him to be on about 90% of the lineups. I will match the field there. Tyrese Maxey coming in around 60%. I'm going with 70. Jaylen Brown, just for you. I'm gonna go. He's gonna be my third most popular play, and then things really start to thin out here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when I cap these other guys. So as you're working through your lineups, is Tatum still surviving the cut?
Yeah, I mean, again, he's a priority for me. Tatum and Maxey, and you've got cheap guys like all over to balance it out. Like even if you don't play both the Boston centers, which I don't know if I want to do anymore. Like Council at 3K now looks amazing. So yeah, it's Maxey, Tatum, and Brown as the three best spend ups in my mind.
Yeah, the other thing that's kind of interesting here for Portland, it's giving me a bunch of it's giving me a smattering of their guards, but all three of them, and it's keeping it kind of even. So I'm going to go with that. We're going to do the Valle con Dios methodology here. The Jesus take the wheel as I upload my FanDuel lineups, because I know I am not smarter than the Sims. Well, at least I know I'm not on FanDuel. I don't think I'm smarter than anywhere, but I can't help myself but make changes to things on DraftKings. So funny enough, guess where my best ROI is this year? The 4 slates I played on FanDuel, and one of them I got second in the nickel contest or the quarter contest. So great ROI there. Who are you terrified of not having enough of in your lineups tonight?
The Golden State guys. I like them, but they don't stand out to me like the ownership it would imply. And again, I like other guards more than Curry and Maxey and Edwards, etc. I like other bigs more than like Trace Jackson Davis, the cheaper bigs, the expensive bigs. I think the one guy that I could see myself playing in like one lineup would be Wiggins, just because of the positionality, versatility, but I'm not really excited to play Andrew Wiggins on a slate like this. But Golden State isn't a good spot. I mean, they're facing Washington at home, so wouldn't be mad if I got a little exposure. But overall, in general, like they're the team I'm worried about not having enough of.
So the key thing about Golden State is they're kind of at a decision point right now. Are they playing for anything this year?
I don't even think they know.
Yeah, I don't think they do, but they know they can get a win tonight is kind of where I'm going
True.
with this. So, and then their next game is on MLK. It's a 2:00 local time game against Boston.
They will win this game. They will win this game.
Yeah. So it's one where it's like, okay, they're going out for the win tonight. this is where we see Kerr consolidate some of his lineups, and without Kuminga, you've got, it's hard to know who you want, right? Is it Schroeder that's getting a little bit of a bump? Is Draymond going to be fired up because he's going against Jordan Poole, right? This is the remember my fist game and remember my face game. So do we get an engaged Draymond? That's always fun. Trace Davis Jackson, inconsistent score, but good God, he could get a dozen rebounds easy against this Washington front court.
I wish he played more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's hard to know what it's going to be, but it feels better tonight with, that in this matchup against a weaker person. And we would like to think he gets fourth quarter run where if the Wizards are succumbing, that Curry and probably Wiggins and assuredly Green are off the court at that point, unless, Green and Poole are just, having some fun. Do you think they went out to dinner last night? Do you think they'll go out to dinner tonight? Or do you think they'll fight by the buses?
Neither, but I will say, like, if you're playing a ton of Golden State, I don't hate a play like Poole. Like, again, saw it a little bit when they played Phoenix the other night. They got rolled, but they kept it just competitive enough where Poole almost got there. Going back to Golden State, I'm not playing Poole. It's not the slate for it, but if I were playing 150, he wouldn't be like out of my pool.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah, it was too easy.
Made me feel like I'm at a party. All right.
What kind of party, EMac?
There we go. Party.
There we go.
You know what, Laffy, I know he bestowed this nickname upon himself, but he calls himself the Punisher, where he did, right? Pun-isher. I thought that was pretty funny. He doesn't say it on air anymore, but he used to back in his days as a podcaster. We've got a super chat here that would like to know the best DK value plays tonight. Let me give you some of my point per dollar thoughts. So Ricky Council Jr. is just going to splash the pot everywhere. He's got small forward shooting, small forward, power forward eligibility. He's going to be on about 70-80% of DraftKings lineups. He will be on almost 90% of FanDuel lineups. Another point per dollar play is going to be Tyrese Maxey. I think you really start your lineups with those two guys. They are the best value. I think you add in Jason Tatum at that point. Now we're starting to get some salary cap questions. Do you trust Kelly Oubre Jr.? Do you trust Andrew Wiggins? Because they're kind of the next guys up. I don't as much. I wouldn't mind on DK punting with Luke Cornett, and then I've got flexibility to start looking for another spendy option. Could it be Anthony Edwards? Could it be Alperen Şengün? That would be the route I would go. But your punts or your best fantasy point per dollar plays are kind of those. And then Jaylen Brown, if you're not going with Tatum, go with Jaylen Brown. That gives you, let's see, $2,300 savings on DraftKings. Then all of a sudden you can start not needing to punt that much beyond a Ricky Council. Perhaps you leave two spots open for that Portland game to kind of differentiate from the field. But that would be how I would approach it. But cash games, if that's the real question, Ricky Council, Tyrese Maxey, Jason Tatum, probably Luke Cornett, or maybe just
Jaylen Brown.
You put Jaylen Brown in there too.
Yeah, because
you may not have anybody from the later
of them.
games. Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like at this point now, like with the Philly news, like it's okay because especially for like cash games, I think you want all the Celtics and you want Maxey, and you just do whatever you have to do to fit those guys in because it's not like you're playing bad plays. You're playing Ricky Council, Luke Cornett, Andre Drummond. Like he's the most expensive out of them. So let me see. If you play Tatum, Brown, and Maxey, I'm sure you still have money left because like none of those guys are expensive as like a Jokic or whatever. So, all right, plug in Tatum, plugging in Brown, and plugging in Maxey. He's got 4,500 per guy with like Council and Cornett sitting there. And then with the guys you talked about, I never trust Kelly Oubre or Andrew Wiggins, but that doesn't mean I never want to play them in tournaments either because trust is relative. Like, do I trust that they're going to have a good game every time out? No. But when these guys do play well, they spike a little bit. At 5,800, they're both 5,800. I think they both have decent upside here and higher floors than normal considering the spots. especially for Oubre.
So how do you feel about like a Darius Garland? We haven't really talked about him. We kind of skipped over a lot of Indy, but Indy's
So
all
that's the other
fine
one.
because they're all healthy. Yeah, but Darius Garland.
Mobley's questionable for Cleveland. We didn't
Okay.
even talk about that because it seems kind of just like second fiddle on this slate. But all of a sudden, if he's out, like I like the Cavs more. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. I mean, Garland's played better than Mitchell in a lot of ways this season. Jared Allen's been good. So yeah, I don't know. It definitely seems like a slate where you wanna, you don't want to use up all your roster spots, but on the other hand, there's really, really good plays early. So it's the old DFS adage, like, is a bird in the hand worth two in the bush? EMac, is it?
It gets hard because if you're looking if you're in if you go Garland, there's a pretty good chance you're going to have a hint as to what's going on in Portland, but which
True.
still creates some infuriation. So I would rather play if Mobley is out, that makes it easy to remain on Garland. If Mobley's in and you need to catch up, now you start looking at some of the Portland options, but you're really going to want two lineup spots left to use your dollars and maximize your flexibility there, which could be a problem because the value that's screaming in here from Philadelphia, which is I'm sure what Matt's trying to figure out here in his choose your own adventure as he winds things down on his lone lineup.
Yeah, it's tricky. Exactly what you said. At this point now, like, as good as Houston and Portland could look, that's the other side of it. Houston, and I keep going back to that. Like, if Amen Thompson is out, all the other Houston guys look better, and then Portland looks better because Amen Thompson's a great defender and can really stop the ball. So, yeah, I think there's some merit in saving some spots, but on the other hand, I don't even know if everything breaks right. Like everything that you want breaks right. Like all the guys are out. If there's still better plays than what we have now, which ultimately makes me just want to play the plays that we have now.
Yeah, and that's it's an interesting thought here. So the guys you really start making decision points on are, can I get something better for a Kelly Oubre type? Maybe.
Right.
With Portland or wiggle room there with Thompson, etc. But your value plays, we're gonna be hard pressed to find players as good as what we're seeing here, which makes building things out just a little tricky. Well, it makes it more than a little tricky, but it's this is why DFS is fun.
It's tricky because our tools and myself agree with who the five best plays on the slate are. Maxey, Brown, Tatum, Council, Cornette. So those all lock early. And then I'm not going to not play other guys because they lock early. I've talked about the Boston guards, Oubre, Wiggins. Wiggins is late. I guess that is one thing about the Golden State game is it is late, but it's not even as late as normal Golden State games are. So don't even know if we'll get the Portland news by the time that game starts. Back to your original question, I do like Garland here. He's really cheap. You might have the reason why I like Garland, and I've been thinking about this since you asked me. I like him as of now, even if everyone's in and the news we have is holds up. Imagine you get Mobley out and we might get Portland news, which, like you said, you can use Garland as sort of a placeholder. I think Garland makes a lot of sense.
All right. What doesn't make sense is me getting very close to the edge here in getting my lineups in. I've got the FanDuel lineups in. I've got the Yahoo lineups in or lineup in. And now I'm working on DraftKings here. DraftKings did not have very good contests tonight. They are definitely giving
awful contests.
Yeah, they're definitely giving credence to the NFL, which as Jennifer Lawrence pointed out to her husband, did you know that Mike is married to Jennifer Lawrence? How cool is that?
That is cool.
Yeah. So as a movie star, Jennifer Lawrence pointed out, the contest will be getting better as soon as the NFL is over.
Saturday night NBA is often pretty wild. Just seems like the weekend in NBA, you get a lot of guys out. It's a long season.
And it's crappy reporting, right?
It's crappy reporting, and it's weird start times for games. Like the Golden State game, for instance, they're 8:30, where Minnesota's at 9:30. Like that doesn't normally happen.
Yeah. well, it's the ABC game, I'm sure, but it's like the beats are out there during the weekday, and then their wives or significant others are like, yeah, I've been dealing with the kids all week. It's the weekend. It's time for me to get a break. And there is nobody at the game providing us news. Shout out to the my favorite ever was still the Derrick Rose getting mad and flying from when he was with the Knicks and flying during the game back to Chicago, and not a single beat reporter called out that he was not in the arena or in layup lines or anything. He wasn't
awful,
even
man.
at the venue, and nobody noticed.
It reminds me of the bowl season, Iowa State. I don't play college DFS because it's not allowed in Ohio, but when I'm in Florida, I dabble a little bit because it's fun. And around that time, like the bowl games are happening. I don't understand how this happens. One of the Iowa receivers, I think Jalen Noel, I think it was Noel. He practiced for like 6 weeks, to play in the bowl game. And then it was announced like shortly after kickoff that he wasn't going to play. And there was no reporting or anything. And like, that's not the only time it happens. And it just never ceases to amaze me how that stuff can stay in.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, make sure I'm getting so my late slate placeholders that I'm pushing and I talking and typing and doing all this at once is not the smartest idea, but is to get some of those Houston guys, and then I will maneuver things around that. So I want to make sure I get some Amen Thompson.
I will ask you this though, like if Amen Thompson is out, who specifically do you like? Because for me, it is almost like I like all of Houston more, but I'm not sure there's one guy I specifically like a lot more. If there was one guy, it would be Sengun. And I think ultimately he looks good here. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we can't trust Tari Eason's minutes. Fred Van Vliet is just not having a good season. He got the bag, he got the ring. Now he's the elder statesman in the room. In the locker room there. So he's doing what Houston wants him to do, but he's not doing what DFS players want him to do. So it's really hard to pinpoint after that. Plus they have enough other guys and interchangeable guys. I can't remember exactly who's in the rotation at this point, but like the Jayshawn Tates of their team can pop up, right? And it makes it tough for that 20 plus games without Tari Eason, and now he's going to play 24 minutes. So you're like, well, all right, if Thompson's out, but he's in, and who loses on, the 8, 9, and 10 guys? I don't know, because we haven't seen that combination yet. It just makes it tricky here. 1 minute till lock. I got my lineups in. They're not sorted how I want it, but Jesus, take the wheel. All right. Oh, we have a visitor. Yes.
It looks like we do have a little visitor. It's almost bedtime.
Give her a little screen time. Just say hello. Oh, now we don't. So Daddy wasn't paying attention.
I think she got a little bit scared, but hey, welcome to an inside look at my life.
There you go. Clip that. Look at who's famous on TV. YouTube star in the making.
That's
all right. So hit the like button for
baby
Belman's kid that walked in to see what Dad was doing. Good times.
Awesome.
Good times.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. I knew it was coming, but I just was not prepared for it.
It's adorable. She's like, ooh.
Yeah, and the hair, the curly hair, all little kids with their curly hair. She had her first haircut yet? I'm sure she has by now. She
has, but like I love her hair. We both love her hair, so we've been very not wanting to cut it at all. We're taking her next week to get a haircut because it's just gotten too crazy.
Gotcha. You have to save the locks and all that stuff. Yeah, that I remember. My brother had a haircut that kind of looked like her. I remember because I would have been. He didn't get his haircut for like a good year. He could toddle, and I'm almost 3 years older, so I would have been about 5. I was in preschool, hadn't started kindergarten. I remember going to get his first haircut, and he had this. It looked just kind of like hers. So now, but he and I both have.
I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it.
I'll clip it for you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right. Good times. Well, thank you, everybody. For those of you less than thrilled with me, I'm handing out money. Go over and get me a username EMac in the DK lobby. $1 head-to-heads for all of the NFL slates, all the classic slates that are available, as well as all the NFL showdown slates. Come and get your love. Come and get your love, as Redbone once sang. But with that, we're going to get on out of here. We do have NFL Live Before Lock tomorrow. You're going to get Josh Engelman starting to do Sunday NBA strategy shows early in the mornings. And then once football winds down, of course, you will get the NBA Live Before Lock on Sundays. Shout out to Underdog for being the presenting sponsor to the show. Go follow Matt on Twitter at FantasyTipsMatt. You can find me at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Stokastic_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.
Go Birds.